Hey everyone, Chris here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we're going to be taking a look at this Transformers Titans Return Flintlock and Sergeant Cup action figure by Hasbro. Now I do apologize. You guys probably already seen reviews of this figure all over the internet. I do have a backlog of toys that I'm trying to get through, so the next few videos will be some of the older figures, and I apologize for that. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at the packaging first. We have our Transformers here on the side. You can see Cup sealed in his plastic tray. Got a little picture here of Cup in his vehicle mode, plus Flintlock and his robot mode. And then up here we have some artwork of Cup's head joining the body, and that's actually a good rendering of Cup's head, if you ask me. I like the little, the grimace he has on his face. It's real nice, really capturing his personality. Let's go ahead and spin this around to the back. Here we have photographs of Cup and robot and vehicle modes, and we have the headmaster, and a little write-up about the characters up here. Other characters available in the series. In case you haven't seen this write-up before, I'm going to try to read it to you, and I do apologize if I stumble over my words. I have a tendency to do that. Sergeant Cup. With Decepticons rising, the Autobots power up with Titan Master partners to stop them. Decepticons recoil when they see Flintlock and Sergeant Cup. Flintlock gives Sergeant Cup the ability to blast enemies with bursts of metal melting acid. And then the write-up continues to go on and on in various other languages, which I do not understand, so I am not going to read those. Alright, let's go ahead and open this up and we'll take a closer look at the action figure. Package contents include the instruction manual. We have the collector's card / tech spec. We have these two cannons. And then we have Sergeant Cup. Okay, real quick, let's go ahead and get a height measurement. So with the Titan Master attached, Cup is about 6 inches tall. So before we get into the whole Cup action figure aspect of this review, let's take a close look at the actual Titan Master himself. So here is a close-up of actually the Cup face sculpt of the Titan Master. And I gotta say, I do like this sculpt. It does pay homage to the original G1 character. I mean, it's not exact, but it looks very, very similar. And he really kind of has, let's see if I can focus on it. Here we go. He really kind of has like this smirk on his face that I can totally picture Cup doing. So I think it came out really, really nice. In regards to the transformation, it's just a classic unfold the character. And then there you have Flintlock. Now, I'm not entirely sure if Flintlock is supposed to resemble another character, or if he's supposed to be his own character, his own design. I know with some of the other characters, I think like Galvatron, his Titan Master actually looked like Megatron. So this one I don't necessarily recognize as looking like anybody else. So he is small, but you can see they were able to get a nice amount of detail in there on him. I mean, it is hard to see because it's just bland two-tone color scheme. But yeah, I mean, if he's small, but if you get in there, like maybe with a dry brush, add some black details, you might actually be able to pull some of those details out a little bit. Besides just unfolding him for the transformation, other points of articulation, you can actually move the hips up and the knees bend here to get him to a sitting position. The arms rotate at the shoulders. And believe it or not, the head can turn side to side as well. Alright, so before we get into the actual transformation of Cup, let's talk about his weapons real quick. So he has these two blasters. These blasters you can actually unite together to kind of like form this double barrel cannon. But you also have this cavity here, which you can have the Titan Master Flintlock in. pulling those apart, you can have Cup hold onto these guns in his 2 hands. Alright, so one thing I want to comment on right away before we get any further is initial thoughts about the quality. I am not necessarily pleased with. It might not be coming across all that well in the video, but the joints are kind of like wicked loose. It takes a lot of work to get him to stand in a somewhat decent pose, because everything's kind of being so loose, it just kind of like shifts out of place. It's besides looking like he's doing a funny dance, it can be pretty annoying. Alright, so that being said, let's get these guns out of the way. We'll check on articulation. So Cup's head can turn side by side because he's using that same joint, the Flintlock neck joint there. So got that. The shoulders are on ball joints. It's kind of like a double jointed system, so they can move the shoulders up like that. That's probably part of the transformation. But also the ball joint, you have the upper arm swivel right there. Double jointed elbow. And this crazy wrist articulation. Now keep in mind that a lot of these points of articulation are going to be for the transformation. So all those joints are duplicated on the other side. He does have waist articulation. His hips are on ball joints. He does have thigh swivel, about 90 degrees at the knee. And you can flip his toes in, but that's going to be a transformation joint. So the transformation was a little bit more complicated than I was expecting, but let's go ahead, let's jump into it, and hopefully I won't screw it up. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and pop the Titan Master off, and we can unfold him. Make sure he is in robot mode. We'll put him aside. And then next we're going to, let's take Cup's hands and we're going to fold them outward. They look weird now, but it'll all come together. We're going to fold the elbows in, and there's a little hole here by the wrist, and there's a peg up here on the shoulder, and we're just going to peg right in there. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take the shoulder joint and we're going to pop that up. So fold the arm up so the elbows are facing you, and then try to pop up that shoulder joint. And this is, it gets a little tricky here because you have these tabs on the forearms. They need to tab into these holes right here. And if you just bring the forearm straight up like that, they don't line up correctly. You got to try to work them in a little bit. So you might have to just, like I said, just work them into place. Alright, so it was easier the second time around. Trust me, it was harder the first time I tried doing that. Alright, so now let's go ahead and we're going to pop open the windshield. We can fold this back and then bring this windshield back down. And then what were we supposed to do? Oh yeah, this is kind of a weird joint. Let's fold this back, and there's like a second joint right here. We're going to fold that back and then pop it up. Now you don't fold this like flat. You kind of like place it here at an angle. Alright, and then what we do is we spin this around. Alright, now when I did the transformation the first time, I hadn't realized it initially, but these legs are completely hollow. This is all panel work. Let's fold the feet in. We're going to pop these panels up. And then let's take this panel, which would be the inside of the leg, and we're going to pop that open. Oh, I'm sorry, the opposite side. The opposite side pops open. And you can get the entire panel straight like that. And then there's a joint right here, this whole panel is going to flip forward, and it's going to peg into the front of Cup's car mode. So let's try that again on this side. You pop out this panel that has the wheel on it, pull it straight down so this whole piece is straight, and we're going to swing this whole panel around with this joint. And once we get it to this point, let's go ahead and flip the car around so we can see where everything pegs in. We have a tab here that pegs in here, tab here pegs in here. So let's get those guys in place first. And then once they're in place, we can kind of see how everything else is going to start pegging in and snapping together as you work your way down the car mode. So these two pieces here will peg together, and they're going to flip around. These two, what were the shins, they don't actually peg together. Just kind of like sit against each other. And that's pretty much it. I think I got everything. Oh, we jumped out of place up here. Oh, there's a second slot right here. If you can see it. There we go. Right here. So 2 slots that need to be put in place. And once those 2 slots are in place, then everything else starts to snap together more efficiently. Supposedly. Alright, there we go. We got it. So that is Cup's car mode, or truck mode, or whatever you want to call it. Now let's bring the guns back. Now this was actually kind of surprising because you can put the guns together. There is that little open area to fit the Titan Master in it. So I thought what you were supposed to do was put together. You have the double barrel cannons. I thought this is what gets pegged in, and you can have the Titan Master sit on the back. But you can see these 2 posts don't match up with these holes, so you can't do that. The instructions have you put the guns on separately. In regular transportation mode, they could just point forward out of the way, but in battle mode, you point them back, and then you just stand the Titan Master back here to operate it. So there's all these little pegs that you can peg the Titan Master into to keep them standing in place. But also, you can just pop open the windshield, and we're going to put Flintlock inside. It's kind of a tight fit, but he will fit. He will sit in there. Alright, so let's get these cannons out of the way. Those are garbage. I don't like the way that they use those. Take a real close-up look at vehicle mode here. I mean, it's obviously Cup's vehicle mode. It definitely looks like that design. Feels like it's a kind of short though. It should be it should be a little bit longer. I'm not sure. So I don't necessarily know if I like the fact that the legs were all panel work. I don't like that they were hollow. They felt empty. They felt too lightweight. And then when you do take those panels, you wrap them around the vehicle to get to this mode, you can see that it's extremely gappy. You can see right through the vehicle. So, I mean, it looks good, I guess, from certain angles, but I kind of feel like maybe a little bit more engineering, or just a little bit more in the thought process and the design work of the vehicle mode. Maybe it may have worked out a little bit better. All right, I'm going to stop rambling on about that because that's what I'm doing. I'm rambling. So my overall thoughts on this toy, there's pros and there's cons. Pros, I mean, he does look like Cup. This is definitely a good update to the character, at least in robot mode. Cons, could have used a little bit more with quality control. I don't like how loose the joints are right out of the packaging. The hip joints, since they're ball joints, I could pop those legs off, maybe use a little bit of floor wax to thicken them up a little bit, make those a little more sturdy. But I can't really do much about the other joints, like his knees. they're pins. I'm not going to be able to pull those pins out to do anything about that. So that's a little concerning. I don't like how hollow the bottom legs are. I mean, they had to do it for the transformation. Yes, I understand that. It all kind of works out in the end, but it just feels cheap with those legs being so hollow. And then in regards to the vehicle mode, trying to get all those panels in place, everything needs to be lined up so perfectly, otherwise they just don't snap together. And once you do have everything snap together, the vehicle is just, the gaps are really noticeable in that. So, I mean, I would still recommend getting them because it's Cup. Cup's awesome, and especially if you're a completist, you definitely need to get them. But just be knowing that you might not be as thrilled as some of the other figures that have come out so far. So thank you very much for stopping by. I always appreciate everybody tuning in. If you have any questions at all or any comments, please let me know down below. And until next time, we'll talk to you later.